Now joining me, criminal defense attorneys that I announced earlier, Mark Crumbine and Michael Bixon. So, Crumbine, I'm so sorry. Thank you both for being here. Let me start with you, Michael. Tell me, what's your argument when it's deliberate or not? What would your argument be as the defense? And do you think they've laid out a good plan for trying to say this was not deliberate, but rather in the heat of the moment?
I think they've done the best job that they can with what they actually have to work with. I think, going against them, obviously you have the gun jamming and him trying to clear it. You have him running her down, essentially running after her with a gun and shooting her. And those are really bad facts to work with. I think that they've done a good job at laying out their defense that this wasn't intentional, that this wasn't deliberate, and that he was acting in this sort of heat of the moment and passionate with everything that was going on between both himself, his wife, and obviously the loss of their son. Again, I think they've done a good job at laying that out. The prosecution is going to have a very good case with what we've seen so far in terms of facts. I think it's going to work more towards the state's advantage than the defense in terms of those two factors, both the clearing of the gun as well as running her down. But again, you work with what you got as the defense.
Absolutely. And Mark, let me ask you this. Is there any time element of what makes up heat of passion? So does it mean you have to do it in 5 seconds, or that maybe heat of passion means it took 10 minutes to do it? I mean, does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a very critical issue here. The prosecution is going to argue, hey, this was not the heat of passion. He tried to fire once, racked the gun at 3 or 4 times, then fired, chased her over the parking lot. And, that's beyond the heat of passion. He's just playing it out. And one point, it's maybe valid for both sides. They said he went to get the pistol from the car. I think I heard that. So the defense may say, well, he went to get the pistol because he lost his mind right then and got so upset that he went and got it. And the prosecution will say, well, that's when he decided. He made his mind up and had to take the action, go back, bring the pistol, and when it didn't fire, I guess off camera, he's chasing her across the parking lot, going around the Good Samaritan, Mr. Dykes.
All right, so let me just ask you really briefly, we just have a minute, Michael, how much do you think that video makes a difference for the state when you see him charging ahead and shooting her?
It's an absolute game changer. I mean, it's one thing to just have to, hear a story about somebody trying to rack a gun and then there's a murder and there's a shooting, but to see him actually run after her and shoot her, I think that tells the entire story for the prosecution.
I agree with you. I think that makes all the difference in this case. We are bringing you gavel-to-gavel coverage of the family nightmare murder trial here on Court TV, and we will get you back into court right after this break.